you have to have a space of gratitude, because the minute you start resenting the others that are maybe doing better than you, or beating yourself up over the, not doing as well as other people, this is when you have an unhealthy relationship with comparison.
Welcome back, everyone, to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. We have an incredible episode for you guys today. We're talking about comparison because so many of you do it, we do it, and we want to kind of break through some myths about comparison and how to use it to your advantage. So stick around for the full episode, because you're going to understand how you can use this to your advantage. You're going to be able to have a little bit of a playbook for yourself to secure your mindset and protect you against going down that negative pathway if you see yourself starting to use comparison for status. So it's going to be a good one, Garrett. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir. Excited to be here with you as always.
Yeah, this is going to be great. And before we dive in too, guys, if you have not yet gone over to YouTube, subscribe to us there. We would love for you to do that. If you're listening on an audio platform, leave us a review. We'd love to hear what you guys think. It's incredible when we get to connect with you guys as well. So give us a follow on Instagram at Life at 10 Tenths. Garrett _ Life at 10, myself, Matthew J. Bonelli. You just follow us. We'd love to connect with you guys and share in this journey together. So appreciate you all for tuning in. Garrett, let's dive in. Unless there's anything else we need to cover before we discuss.
No, I think we should jump right in, because this is something that we watch as we've coached people, as we have watched people start their businesses, and you want results to yesterday. You want everything to be working, and it's not working yet. And why is it not working yet? And a lot of times we start looking right around us to people that are having success and going, why is it working for them? Why is it not working for me? And you just watch people just rip themselves down to the point that you're like, you have burned yourself out. You're just beating the crap out of yourself emotionally and mentally. You're doing it all night long while you're sleeping. You're just running this game in your head about, why is it not working for me? And it does a whole bunch of stuff, Matt, that we're going to go down through today that a lot of people don't even realize, because, just as I'm sitting here saying it, it's like, this actually creates beautifully written affirmations that actually take you in the wrong direction. The more that you focus on it, the more that you do it. And a lot of times people think it's going to help them grow, or they're just trying to feel normal. They're trying to go like, is this normal where I'm at? As I'm seeing normal results for the people. And there's so many reasons that comparison can be a good driver. It can bring some good energy, but more often than not, if you're not careful, it can be really dangerous.
Yes, it can be. And I think most people use comparison for status, for whatever, for justification, for other things too. And when you start using it that way, comparison becomes that popular phrase, right? Comparison is the thief of joy. If you're focused on just comparing yourself to everybody, you're not going to be joyous. You're not going to have a happy life unless you pull yourself out of it and you use comparison as a tool to say, hey, what can I learn from all these other things? And Garrett, we talked about this before starting to record. The biggest thing that people miss when they're comparing is where the other person is at on their journey and where you are at on your journey. So you start comparing two things that are not the same. And then you're like, oh, I must be terrible because I can't be like Garrett. I can't be like this person over here. I want to do that, but I'm not. So I must not be good enough. And like you said, that's where you start scripting those perfect affirmations that take you down this pathway where, it does steal all your joy, but it doesn't have to.
So it's funny because when you're starting to say like the journey side of it, which I totally agree with, if you take like investing for let's say you want to invest in the stock market, you want to invest in whatever it might be. You take somebody that, let's just use Warren Buffett as an example. We all know his story. I don't have to tell everybody, let me tell you who Warren Buffett is and what he's really good at and what he's made a lot of money doing. Yeah. Everybody listening to this podcast knows exactly what I'm talking about. They know the story. If you didn't know the story, if you didn't know his background, and all you were able to look at was the net sheet at the end of the year to be like, how did this guy do with his investments and and you're going, well, I'm an investor too. What am I doing wrong? What have I done wrong? Like, I've been investing for the last 2 years. I'm not getting those types of returns. I'm not being able to get that type of money back into my, what am I doing wrong? And instead of understanding the journey that that gentleman has been on and what he's learned and the advisors that he surrounds himself with and the people that he has in his back pocket to be able to go, hey, you should take a look at this. Whether it's an advisor or a friend, just a trusted friend that he has to be able to use. There's so many reasons why his investments outperform your investments. Like, there's so many, and it's a bad comparison. It's a bad thing to judge yourself against. Maybe someday you can sit back and say, look, in the amount of time that I've given to this, I outperformed Warren Buffett. Let's do that. Let's look down that line. But that's a far down the line goal. That's a comparison as we move down the road going, wow, I actually built what he built pretty good, or I got close, or I was a little bit behind him. He does fairly well, by the way. If anybody hasn't checked out Warren Buffett, fairly well in the investment categories.
Yeah, he does well. Investing is a good place to start with this, because even if you just look at the output, not just the percentage returns, but the total money, right? And if anybody has seen any type of finance course on compound interest, you see the numbers like, well, if John started investing at age 20 and Garrett started investing at age 30, and they both invested all the way up to age 60, John's wealth is like, whoa, exponentially larger than Garrett. And you're like, but I've been doing the same thing. It's like, well, let's go back to the journey. How long have they been on that journey? John was on the journey for 40 years. Garrett was on the journey for 30 years, right?
Yep.
There's a difference there. And when you look at that, you're like, oh, okay, but I'm good. I'm doing well. And we do this so much with time, right? Well, that person's been in the industry for 10 years. I've been in for 10 years, or that person's the same age as me. Why do they seem more successful? Well, you're comparing the outputs. You don't know what's going on with their personal finances. Maybe you had student loan debt and other debt that you were trying to get away from where they didn't. So maybe they're making the same amount of money as you, but they have more visual success in terms of how you're comparing, just because they had a different savings plan and they had a different, place where they started from.
Yep.
And this is why understanding those journeys is so important when you want to look at the inputs that people are putting into what's creating that versus comparing the outputs. Because if you compare, it's like, well, Warren Buffett did the work. He really understood investing from a young age. He really tested things out. He analyzed the markets. He spent a lot of time in understanding that. He didn't, and then his strategy changes over the years. I mean, this is a guy who has decades of knowledge in there, and we're just getting started, right? Yep. So let's look at those inputs that go into that, compare that, because that is what you can learn from. I can learn of how did Garrett get started? And then I can say, how do I want to get started? And not compare the outputs today, because we're going to be then driving a different journey from there too.
Well, and going back and pulling this back, let's say into real estate or any business you're really growing, I think sometimes you'll look at the people that got started the exact same time as you. We jumped into this at the exact same time. We must be on the same journey, right, Matt? We are literally getting started exactly the same time. And then all of a sudden, this one person just takes off, and half the office goes, well, that's unusual for someone to have that much success that early on, and whatever it might be. There's usually some things that led up to that. There are some things in this person's journey that you never saw, probably playing out for a handful of years before ending up in this game of real estate, that they didn't just come walking in off the street and go like, so I got a license, like, what do I do with it? Oh, I'm supposed to sit here and just get on the phone and hopefully I get a deal and things like that. Like, they might have come from an industry or from an area that real estate was like the perfect next step for them, because it put them around all these people and they have all this database that they go, oh, you're selling real estate now? That's brilliant. That's what you should be doing. That's the natural fit for you. Like, and all of a sudden they have all this business that comes with them. It's very easy as the other new agent in the office, because you're not in their phone calls. You're not in their database. You're not in the story that's going on, to go walk around down the parking lot and kick rocks going like, why is it not working for me? It's like, stop comparing yourself. And I think this is interesting too, Matt. We need to bring this into it, that in this world of comparison and where it can become so dangerous is that if you get into an unhealthy habit with it right up front, it's not like it gets better when you start having success, Because what happens is as you start having success, then you look around and you go, well, who's having more success than me right now?
Yep.
Damn it, why am I not at those levels? Well, you're actually doing really well right now. Like, keep the momentum going. But now we're tearing ourselves down again, comparing to these other people that are around us. Very rarely, and anybody listening to this right now, what would it take for you to be number one in the city or number one in the state as a real estate agent or in the profession that you're in? You will almost always, all of us will have somebody we can look up to, many people we can look up to and go, damn it, they're doing better than me. God, they have,
Oh, yeah.
it never ends.
Or you might even see, oh, well, I am number one, but the guy who's number two seems like he's having so much more fun with his life than me, right? Like, that's what's going to happen. You'll be like, yeah, I'm making more deals, but I didn't travel to, Africa for 3 months for a safari.
Yeah.
Man, how is he doing that? Right. There's always going to be something. And I think this is where how you approach comparison is very important. If you believe that comparison is going to be the thief that takes all the joy away from you, you're going to use it as that. But if you look at it as a tool and you say, hey, I'm going to use comparison to be objective, to understand what's going on, and then also see if I can put some perspective on their journey so I can tie it with my goal. Because maybe Garrett has a different goal in life than I have, and I need to understand that when it comes to what it takes to get there. Because let's be honest, like, I think a lot of people like using comparison and then as an excuse is because they don't want to come back on themselves and say, to do the things that I would need to do to be at that level, I am unwilling to do. They don't want to have that conversation. And it's very important to be comfortable and confident in yourself to have that conversation, because then you can understand and accept, like, cool, maybe I'm not going to be number one, but I'm going to build the life that I want to build. And I'm still going to be able to learn from number one because I do want to get better. And that is where all of a sudden you can take all those inputs and, rework your toolbox and move forward.
Yeah. There's another side of comparison here, Matt, that we also need to bring into this, which is that if you develop an unhealthy relationship with comparison, let's say you do get to be number one. Let's say you use that motivation because it just drives you crazy that you got to be the best. You got to be, well, you're only going to be as good as the herd that you surround yourself with.
Yes.
And sometimes that unhealthy relationship with comparison will actually put you in environments that you can be number one, even though it's not that good. You're really not performing all that high. But yes, you are number one, but it feels good. And you're like, but in my office, I've got it. Well, why don't you go move over to that office over there? Because at that office, you're not number one, you're number 50. Like, but this feels safe over here because I'm number one. Like, I got it. Got it here at this office. It can get into some weird places. There's a reason that you watch sports teams, kids sports teams especially too. You'll have good players on that team that will only get to a certain level. And then all of a sudden they'll transfer over to a different school that has a stronger sports program. And it makes that competitive person, instead of being really good on the team that they're on, rise to a whole nother level, because they do have that element of saying, look, I can build myself and rise with this group that I've put myself around. That's a healthy form of comparison. Like, we are rising with the group that's around us. And that I find can be a very powerful source of comparison. But you got to look at it as, like, again, you can also protect yourself by putting yourself in a group where your level of comparison is just saying, like, well, I'm doing pretty good. Like, I feel like I'm doing pretty good here.
And if you want to grow, you do need to be surrounded by growth-minded people who are doing better than you are, because that's how you learn. And if you're afraid of comparing, and let's be honest here, a lot of times people like do the comparison thing because they think other people are doing it to them, but they're not. You're the only one that's comparing yourself to other people. Like, I don't think people just walk around going, yep, better than him, not as good as him, better than that guy. I don't know about that one over there. Like,
There
maybe
might
some
be
people do. And if that's
listening,
you,
right?
we got some things we got to work on, because
There
that
might be
is what's
some
going to
people
take
listening.
all the wind out of your sails.
There you go.
Right?
Last time I walked through the grocery store, I walked around going, like, yep, Yep. I probably make more money than them. Probably make more money.
What's crazy too is like, what are you using to make this assessment as well? Like, you know nothing. And so if you change your own personal definition of comparison to understanding true differences, work programs, processes, consistency, time, and you start to give it this in-depth definition, you're going to be able to approach things a whole lot better, and it's going to help you grow. And I will say, all of this needs to be rooted in gratitude. One of the best ways to stave off this negative comparison mindset is to just start with gratitude. Yeah. What are you grateful for? Use that when you're going into a room. Like, man, I am so grateful that I can go into a room surrounded by power players who know more than me so that I can learn from them and continue to grow my business to fulfill my hopes, my dreams, and serve my family and my community. Whereas if you go into it going, man, I don't like where I'm at. I need to go, and I'm going to go in here, and I'm just going to hear all of these things about all these people who are doing so much better than me, and it's just going to make me feel bad. It's like, okay, which one sounds better? Which one feels better? I'm pretty sure the gratitude side, Garrett, is the one that people are gonna be like, yeah, let me do that one.
You have to have a space of gratitude, because the minute you start resenting the others that are maybe doing better than you, or beating yourself up over the, not doing as well as other people, this is when you have an unhealthy relationship with comparison. And we've all been there. And I think this is the interesting thing. We've all been there. We've all done it. We've all looked around at our peers and been like, why am I not getting it? Matt, you touched a little bit on it earlier, and I want to go back to it. Is this like, you also need to understand what is the drivers for people that are giving them these successes, because their goal may not be to be number one. They might be number one in the company that we're comparing our direct person to, but that may not even be their goal. They just may be there because they're actually driven by something completely different. Yeah. And here we are just fighting for number one, comparing ourselves against somebody that's actually playing a different game.
Yeah.
And we don't even realize it.
Stage.
100%. So I think we have to step back and look at that also. And Naval Ravikant, the Almanac of Naval Ravikant that we just read, Matt, he talks in there a lot about, like, there are no people that are replicated or you can replace for other people.
Yeah.
Everybody is totally unique. Everybody is bringing all different elements and expertise and value to the game. And the minute we start looking at people and we start comparing or like going, oh, this person's like this person. No, everybody is 100% uniquely on their own journey, doing their own thing. We can easily look at somebody and say, oh, well, they're similar to me because they're the same age. We're both selling real estate right now. We're both doing, get this, in this little moment right now, we share a lot of similarities with them. Matt, you and I, we're on a very similar journey right now. I got a little bit more years on you, not many, but a little bit. And then you start looking at, well, what is our background? We have two extremely different backgrounds that really started about 10 years ago. We started to kind of get on a similar path, but you go back about 10 years ago and beyond that, it is a very different journey that both you and I had. And all that stuff that we bring to the table, this is where when you start comparing this moment that we're in right now, thinking that Matt and I are the exact same, in the same journey. We both got kids, right? We're both kind of on, nope, don't do it. Matt's on a very unique journey compared to mine, even though in this moment we're walking in alignment.
Yeah. Well, and that's the beautiful thing is all these paths can come together and, be supportive of each other, even though they're different. And same thing on not comparing someone's journey to your own journey is also don't compare their, chapter, 25 to your chapter 4. Right. And you're like, oh man, like I got to be doing that. It's like, you're on this level here, which is why I do find it important for people to find mentors that are a little bit ahead of them as well, or collaborators, we'll call it, because sometimes there's a lot that somebody who is even a little bit ahead of you can learn from you as well. Still have all the people in your world who've done the things that you want to do at a high level as well. I think that's important, but you have all these people. So surround yourself with people because you can get rid of this. And Garrett, I think one fun analogy we can use since we like cars is fuel. Like if you look at comparison as gasoline, right? Gasoline can be outrageously dangerous, right? It can burn your entire house down, but it can also fuel your car to propel you to incredible distances or incredible speeds or to set lap records, whatever it is that you want to do with that fuel, if you purposefully use it and intentionally use it in the right way. And this is comparison. And how many of you are willing to take that fuel and use it with intention and purpose, or do you just want to spill it all over the floor and
Just
light it
burn
up?
the house down.
Yeah. I mean, because that's what I see a lot of people do with comparison is they just misuse it. They mismanage it. They don't take care for it with caution. And it's hard, right? There's a lot of mindset stuff that goes into this, a lot of like mental strength that we got to build around it, which is why I love going to gratitude. But we have to take care of these things that we know can be dangerous. And that's how then we can then use them to incredible things. Nuclear reactors, right? For power plants.
You know, when you look at comparison, I know for myself in my world, I've found myself many times over the years looking at, okay, I'm this age in my life right now, and how am I compared to this person over here or compared to this person over here? And like, I've done it actually with my parents. I've looked at them and go like, well, how old was my dad when I was the age that I am with my son right now? And where am I with my world and what I've built and what I've created and income that I'm making? And it's very, very, very easy to all of a sudden go like, I'm doing pretty good. Like, I feel like I'm in a pretty good place, which all of a sudden can take the drive out. You know, all of a sudden it's like you're at a great, instead of going and saying like, but there's so much more I want to go create. Mm-hmm. We've lost some drive. At the same point, you can beat yourself up and go, man, I should be farther along. That's why I think the comparison game, Matt, you got to be so careful with, because the upside of it is very, very, very small when you're comparing a lot. It's usually going to be a spot that either takes away motivation or maybe can allow you to beat yourself up. Which is a quote that came up as we were kind of getting ready for this. I was like, I'll just see if there's any cool quotes out there. And this one came up, which says, and it says anonymous, doesn't have it given to anybody. It says, the only person you should try to be better than is the person who you were yesterday.
Yeah.
And that for me is like, yes, in this journey that you're on, this unique journey that you're on in this world of being a parent, of being an entrepreneur, of whatever it might be, spouse, just how can I be a little bit better tomorrow than I was today? Just always keep improving. That for me is like the healthiest form of comparison, is comparing against yourself and where you're at right now. Because again, everybody else's journeys is too unique.
And that's the only one that matters, right?
Yep.
You know, at the end of days, no one's going to be like, well, yeah, Garrett, he was great, but he wasn't as great as John.
I mean,
come on, right? John, ladies and gentlemen.
I thought you were going to say it wasn't as good as me.
Or the other way around. You're like, man, here's Garrett. He was better than everybody else. Like, that's not what's going to happen. People are going to say, like, this is a person who worked hard, made impact, all those things. And if you're comparing yourself to yourself, you're going to be motivated to go. And when you're looking at everything and you are falling into a comparison trap, pull out of it by becoming an observer. Just observe. Don't obsess over what other people are achieving, what they have physically, where they're going on trips and stuff. Don't obsess over it. Observe. And here's the other thing too. When you do observe other people's success and you actually praise it and you're grateful for their success, you're sending out positive energy into the universe that's going to allow you to attract that. When you compare and you start saying, oh man, why don't I? It's sending negative energy, which blocks your ability to go achieve those things too. So observe, don't obsess, be grateful for all of the people who are achieving success, because it is evidence that you can do it too if you focus on yourself and where you are currently in your own journey.
So a tool, Matt. So a tool, if anybody wants to go, how can I use comparison in a really healthy way? I think you should definitely look around and figure out people around you that have figured it out. At least they look like they figured it out, because usually the more you talk to them, you're going to figure out that they haven't figured it out. They're still trying to figure it out themselves. But from your standpoint, you're going, they got it all together. The interesting thing is that if you really want to grow fast, don't try to be that person, but just go learn from their journey. See if you can go learn from what they've learned. You talk about like Tim Ferriss wrote the book, The Tools of Titans. And if you look at Tim Ferriss's journey, a lot of his early on successes was his goal was to put himself around others that have achieved incredible success, because he wanted to sit down and ask questions and learn about what got them to where they were. And if you get too much in a comparison place of like, why am I not as successful as them? You stop that learning process. You stop that ability of sitting down going like, tell me about your journey. Tell me what got you here. Tell me all the roadblocks that you came across. What were the toughest things that happened in your life and in your business that allowed you to learn to have this drive, to have this power, to have this excitement in your world? And sometimes it's some of the darkest stuff that you can't sit there and go like, well, I'm going to fabricate that into my life because if that got them there, I'm going to go do that also. No. There's a lot of life that happens to us that brings the best out of us are some of this kind of the craziest times in our world. Yeah. And the darkest times in our world that even make us shine even brighter. And you can't replicate that. You need to go live your own journey, but learn from the others around you. So instead of going like, why are they having all this success? You go, oh, well, it makes sense with what they went through and the person that they grew into going through that. I totally understand why they are shining at this level right now. And then you continue on your journey. You're not comparing, you're learning. Learn from those around you. Comparison, again, is the thief of all joy. It totally can take the fun out of all of this, what you're trying to build.
Yeah, I agree, man. So hopefully, I don't know who needed to hear that today, but if you're still listening in, you may have needed to hear that today. And so one thing we would ask of you too is, who do you know who needs to hear this too? Who needs to hear the message? Because sometimes I love it when people send me messages to me when they're like, hey, I think you need to hear this, but it's coming from somebody else. It helps me, right? Because sometimes the people who are closest to us, we can say things and they're like, yeah, I get it. I know. But when you hear it from somebody else, so guys, share this with somebody who you feel can use this message, can take advantage of this to help them build, because it's always great when we get to build together.
What I would encourage, Matt, is anybody listening to this, if you have a managing broker and owner of a company, this would be an episode that I would say pass up to them, because they probably know more in their office of the ones that are actually stuck in a rut of this comparison model. Yeah. And they're never quite getting out of it. They're always in this rut. And as my dad used to say, the difference between a rut and a grave is only a couple feet. Like, that is the reality of that. And it's one of those, is like, if you don't get yourself out of it, you find yourself in that rut, get yourself out quickly. And sometimes this comparison game keeps us in this rut and we don't even realize it. We think we are trying to do better by building ourselves up. So again, if you have a managing broker or an owner that you feel could benefit from this, that they could get it out to the people in their office and share it with them that need to hear this, go down that route. But so with that being said, Matt, I don't know who brought this topic up. I think we both kind of landed on it in a unique way as we were kind of getting ready today, but good topic. I appreciate it. If any of you want to follow us and support the podcast, support Matt and I, number one place you can go to right now is go to YouTube, click on the subscribe button. That's an easy place to go to, totally free. The other part you can go to is come check us out at Life at 10 Tenths. We have a easy access in there that you can get to all the podcast episodes, and you can search in there under them. So if there's a topic or something that you want to go back to that we might have talked about in the 100+ episodes that we have before this one, you can easily search. It'll go pull out through all the transcripts and find the episodes that you need to listen to. That's available to you. We have an awesome starter membership in there. You can jump into that one and get a whole lot of extras every single day. And then we have our amazing 11 Circle, which is our group coaching. And we'd love to have you in there. That is becoming more and more powerful every day right now. So it's very fun to see the people that are joining us in there. And Matt, with that being said, anything else that I've left off the table?
Hey, find all that stuff by downloading our app. Download the app, and you can log in, and you can see all the podcast episodes totally free, and you can search them. It's great. It's a great thing. So, and we'd love to see you in there. We'd love to connect with you guys. Have an awesome day. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Matt, thank you, sir.
Thank you, my friend.